disappointed. I'm probably gutted. Something has to change, but I don't know who knew what. I'm thinking, why doesn't it just come out now then? You know, I knew, and I'm hearing everybody else is saying they've only just found out. It's fake.
There was an adverse finding of a trace substance in one of Conor Benn's VADA tests. Both guys for this fight signed up to various different agencies.
Literally attempted murder, and they wanted me to be an accomplice to it. They were asking me to take money to come onto the zone and be a part.
Conor Benn fails drug test before his rematch with Eubank Jr, and the uproar is completely justified now. He has already failed twice before, and somehow a third positive test shows up just 1 week before the fight. Fans are furious, and Eubank Jr suddenly looks like the disciplined, clean professional in this rivalry.
2-minute interview. I always say, it don't matter what drug you take, it doesn't make you a better fighter. Might make you stronger, might make you fit. It doesn't make you a better fighter. That's proof. You know, so until more news comes out, you just got to deal with it.
Eddie is the one doing all the talking here because he knows the heat is on. He keeps addressing every angle, every detail, trying to get ahead of the outrage. Conor's third positive test forces Eddie to speak more than anyone else, and you can hear the pressure in every sentence.
Obviously, at the moment, the British Boxing Board of Control aren't. So we have to speak with them, deal with the legal situation and see where it lands. And this is quite fresh. Obviously, I don't even think it's 30 minutes. I think it's more like 10 or 15 minutes since that. And you know, we'll see what.
And while Eddie tries to steady the narrative, Eubank Jr gives his reaction with far more clarity. Eubank Jr speaks with pure confidence because he knows he is the clean athlete in this rivalry. While Conor Benn keeps failing tests, Chris is proudly reminding everyone he has passed every single one, even on holiday. His tone says it all. He feels validated, and Benn looks completely exposed.
It's a shame, man. You know, it's a shame that we have something now that kind of muddies the story, if anything. It's a shame.
Duke McKenzie cuts straight through the noise. He calls it disrespectful, not just to the sport, but to Conor's own father, a man who fought with heart, not shortcuts. Hearing a respected champion say this shows the level of disappointment. Meanwhile, Eubank Jr stands untouched with his reputation rising by the minute.
Like business. So from a business perspective, it kind of makes sense because everybody gets paid. But is Derek Chisora a real threat to Tyson Fury? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Is Tyson Fury going to steamroll him and beat him again? I'll put my house on it.
John Fury tries to stay neutral, but even he cannot hide how serious this looks. When someone of his old school mindset says ban him if it is true, you know the situation is rotten. Conor's repeated positives make even the calm voices uncomfortable, while Eubank Jr looks like the only disciplined professional here.
Tyson chucked the belts in the river and gave Deontay Wilder another shot, and Joshua, because none of them's worthy of it. None of them. And I've said it first, he doesn't need the money. He's won everything. If they're not proper fighting men, let them get on. Jog on, my friend.
You think either one of them makes their way back to a world title?
Who? Yeah,
Wilder or
Gareth A. Davies reveals the most worrying part. 14 different supplements in Conor Benn's system, and a doping expert already analyzing the details. This is no small slip. It sounds like a routine pattern, and with Conor's history, it only deepens suspicion. Eubank Jr. meanwhile looks cleaner and calmer than ever.
Been reporting on it this morning. I'm just slowly coming up. One of my colleagues, Jeremy Wilson's doing it for the Telegraph. He's the drugs expert or the doping expert on the desk, and I think there was something like 14 supplements that he was using.
Frank Warren does not sugarcoat anything. He calls it exactly what it is. A failed test is a failed test, and there is no running from it. His tone says the governing bodies need to act now. Meanwhile, Eubank Jr. looks like the only man arriving to this fight with a spotless record.
Facts are his drug, the Conor failed a drug test. That is a fact. It's not been denied anywhere. There's lots of talk about, let's see how this works out, and he's entitled to get his day and so forth. Well, it should be dealt with very quickly.
And just when the discussion heats up, a former world champion adds even more fire. Carl Frampton takes the gloves off completely. He calls for lifetime bans because fighters like Conor put lives at risk. When someone with Frampton's stature talks like this, the damage to Benn's name becomes almost irreversible. Eubank Jr. comes out looking even more honorable and far more trustworthy.
high-profile guys getting caught, and it's just horrible. Genuinely, and I know you without going fucking fully mental here, I just believe if you're caught with any performance-enhancing drug, you should be banned.
Johnny Nelson's words hit Conor Benn like a direct shot to the ribs. He is spelling out the truth the whole boxing world already knows. Even with all the substances Conor has been caught using, nothing has made him a smarter fighter. No shortcut teaches timing. No pill gives natural reflexes. No banned supplement replaces real skill. And that is exactly why Conor looks even more foolish now. 3 failed tests, yet no improvement in the ring and no sign of elite ring IQ. Nelson is basically saying Conor cheated and still never reached the level he imagined it. Meanwhile, Chris Eubank Jr. stands tall as the fighter who depended on nothing but work ethic, discipline, and pure boxing intelligence.
I say, drugs don't make you a better fighter. Drugs may make you a little stronger, may make you a little, give you a bit more energy, but it don't make you technically smart. It doesn't give you all of that. You know, so those drug cheats that do it purposely, you've got to remember, you know, why are you doing it? What difference is it going to make? It's going to make you like a boxing Einstein?
Dave Coldwell captures exactly how the public feels. Before anyone even digs into the details, the first reaction is pure disbelief and anger, because this is not an isolated slip from Conor Benn. Fans have seen him fail before, and now another positive test arrives at the worst possible time. Coldwell tries to pull himself back and say facts are needed, but even he cannot hide the frustration. How many times does this happen before people stop giving the benefit of the doubt? Conor's name is becoming a punchline. Every failed test pushes him further away from his father's legacy, and while his reputation collapses, Chris Eubank Jr. looks stronger, smarter, and completely unbothered heading into fight week.
As a brutal war, just brilliant.
Should Martin McCauley have been in the ring, do you think? A lot of people saying...
Listen, hindsight's unbelievable. But if you ask Martin McCauley now, who's probably got about 3 million bank, should he be in the ring? He's going to say, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, next week.
Because at the end of the day, listen, this is boxing. The prize fighters, they're in it to earn money. And when they retire at...
Don Charles does not leave any room for excuses. He calls this situation unforgivable because boxing is a sport where one mistake can destroy a life. When he says 100% wrong, he is speaking for every fighter who ever stepped into the ring clean. Conor Benn failing tests 3 times is not just a mistake anymore. It looks like a pattern that keeps repeating because the punishment has never been strong enough to stop it. Don Charles even turns to the governing bodies and blames them for letting situations like this drag on. And with every failed test, Conor's credibility breaks further. Meanwhile, Chris Eubank Jr. stands on the other side, looking like the only fighter handling this rivalry with honor and professionalism.
Taking drugs, I mean, this is very unforgiving. You can't, I'm sorry. Provided he's been found, it's 100% that those substances were found in his system, it's unforgiving. And you know what, I blame the governing bodies because I don't believe that they imposing heavy enough fines.
Eddie Hearn sounds emotionally drained here because he knows the situation is collapsing around him. He keeps bringing up personal history, friendship, loyalty, and how long he has known Conor, almost as if he is trying to convince himself more than anyone else. But this is exactly why fans are losing patience. 3 failed tests cannot be defended with tears and memories. Eddie talks about Conor crying and pleading innocence, but the facts keep pointing in the opposite direction. The sport does not care who lived in whose house or who has known who for 7 years. What matters is integrity, and Conor has shattered his. Meanwhile, Chris Eubank Jr. stands untouched, calm, disciplined, and looking like the only man handling this rivalry with professionalism.
It's really difficult because everybody will plead their innocence. When you've got a kid that you've known for, I don't know, 6-7 years, who, you know, virtually lives with Tony Sims, who is, you know, a very close friend of mine, the most, you know, 100% solid man in boxing, who spent 13, 14 weeks with his dad living in his house, who comes into your office, you know, breaking down on the floor, pleading his innocence, looking you in his eyes, giving you every opportunity to tell you the truth. And when you see the facts, I believe that Conor Benn is innocent. Maybe it's because he's my mate, and maybe it's because you back him.
Duke McKenzie's words cut through every excuse, every emotional plea, and every shaky defense Conor Benn and his camp have been offering. When a former world champion says he would take a man's license away, that is not casual criticism. That is a direct indictment of character. Duke is highlighting the part people often forget. Boxing is not football. It is not cricket. This is a sport where one punch can change a life forever. And when someone steps into the ring enhanced, artificially boosted, chemically helped, they are not just cheating to win. They are playing with another fighter's life. That is why fans are reacting with so much anger, because Conor Benn has not failed once, not twice, but 3 separate times. And each time the excuses become more desperate while the trust becomes smaller and smaller. Meanwhile, Chris Eubank Jr. continues to build his image as the clean athlete who shows up, passes all his tests, and fights on merit, not supplements. Duke McKenzie's message is simple. Boxing only works when honesty exists, and Conor has shattered that line.
If it was me, I'd take his license away. You know, because you cannot cheat in the sport of boxing. Not if you're going to put on a pair of gloves and get inside that square circle and physically fight somebody, and potentially you could easily lose your life, then to take anything which will give you enhance your performance, it's just wrong.
Adam Catterall shifts the conversation from individual blame to the bigger, darker truth. He questions the system itself. If fighters can turn up and get paid while failing voluntary tests, then what message does that send to the entire sport? Adam highlights what fans have been screaming for years. The British Boxing Board of Control must enforce these tests like life depends on them, because in reality, it does. And with Conor Benn, the concern is not small. This is not one mistake. This is a repeating pattern that shows the system has been too lenient, too slow, and too forgiving. Adam even compares it to other recent cases, showing that doping issues are not isolated to a single fighter, but Conor's repeated fails now put him at the very front of the scandal. When he says, what if something happens on fight night, that is the nightmare. Because if Conor entered the ring enhanced and something tragic happened, the sport would never recover. On the other side, Chris Eubank Jr. is becoming the poster boy for professionalism, passing every test and demanding fairness.
And they want to turn up and get paid.
Correct.
This should not be their decision. The British Boxing Board of Control should be standing up and taking the voluntary anti-doping test seriously. Absolutely. Yes, I know that you work with the UK anti-doping, I know that, but this is a test. He's popped up. Let's look into it properly. What happens if something happens on Saturday night?
Absolutely.
What if we've already got a safety issue?
Johnny Nelson's disappointment speaks louder than any angry rant ever could. When a respected figure like him says something has to change, it becomes clear that Conor Benn's third failed test is not just an individual scandal, it is a failure of the whole system. Johnny is highlighting the confusion surrounding the timeline. Everyone claims they only just found out, yet somehow the story keeps shifting every hour. That inconsistency makes the entire situation look even more suspicious. And the worst part for Conor is that people like Nelson used to support him, used to defend him, used to believe in his potential. Now even they sound tired, drained, fed up with hearing the same excuses and the same recycled statements. Meanwhile, Chris Eubank Jr. must be watching all this chaos unfold with complete clarity. He has shown discipline, transparency, and professionalism. Nelson's message is a reminder that boxing has reached a breaking point. If rules are not enforced, if tests are not respected, catastrophes can follow. For Conor, the damage may already be done.
No matter what drugs you take, it doesn't make you a better fighter. It might make you stronger, might make you fit. It doesn't make you a better fighter. That's proof. You know, so until more news comes.
Tony Bellew brings a completely different type of energy. Instead of discussing doping or safety, he dives straight into technical debate. But ironically, his words expose the contrast even more. He says Conor Benn is technically better, but that statement falls apart when you consider the circumstances. How can a man be praised for technical ability when he has failed drug tests 3 different times? That is the point fans keep making. Even if Conor had natural talent, he has buried it under scandal, suspicion, and self-inflicted damage. Bellew's critique of Eubank Jr. claiming to be a master boxer is classic Bellew bluntness, but the timing of his defense for Conor feels off, because right now, Eubank Jr. is the only one who has passed every test, shown up clean every time, and stayed mentally focused despite constant drama around the fight. If anything, the chaos has reinforced Eubank Jr.'s discipline and exposed Conor's lack of control. Bellew's comments add fire, but the truth is simple. Boxing respects honesty, and Conor has stepped far outside that line.
Conor is a far better fighter than Chris Eubank Jr. is a boxer.
Technically, yeah.
And that's the problem that Chris Eubank Jr. is having. He's got this thing in his mind, he's a masterful boxer. No, you're not.
No.
I'm sorry, no, you're not.
The entire build-up has shifted into something far bigger than a simple rematch, because Conor Benn has turned this fight week into a storm of questions, doubts, and controversy. What should have been a clean rivalry has become a headline circus, and instead of silencing critics, Conor has added fuel by producing yet another positive test just days before the event. Fans no longer know what to believe. Analysts who once praised him now sound exhausted, and his father's legacy hangs awkwardly beside the mess he has created. Meanwhile, Chris Eubank Jr. has kept himself above the chaos, passing every test, speaking with calm confidence, and proving what real professionalism looks like. He is walking into this fight with the mental edge, the moral high ground, and the momentum of a man who has done everything right while the other side collapses under its own mistakes. If Eubank Jr. wins, he seals his position as the cleaner, sharper, and more disciplined fighter. If Conor somehow pulls off a victory, the controversy will drown every achievement. So the question is simple. Are you backing Eubank Jr. to finish this clean, or do you think Conor Benn delivers the shock?